Many diesel vehicle owners don't realize that their daily driving habits are silently shortening their engine's lifespan and draining their wallets bit by bit. While some drivers consistently reach 300,000 miles with an engine that still runs as smoothly as new, others have to replace their entire engine after just 100,000 miles. So, what's the difference? The secrets known only to seasoned drivers can save you thousands of dollars in repairs, keeping your engine healthier and far more durable. Let's explore these 6 secrets right now. You'd be awesome if you liked this video. Six, drain the water from the fuel filter regularly. If you're driving a diesel vehicle and have never drained the water from your fuel filter, let's be honest, you're nurturing a ticking time bomb in your fuel system. Diesel is highly sensitive to water, and even a small amount of moisture can damage injectors or high-pressure pumps worth thousands of dollars. Yet, most drivers skip this crucial habit simply because they don't realize how easily water can sneak into the fuel. When temperatures shift between day and night, moisture in the air condenses inside the fuel tank. These tiny water droplets mix with the fuel and get trapped at the bottom of the fuel-water separator, a component most diesel vehicles have. Its job is to collect water separated from the fuel, keeping it out of the pump and injectors. But if you don't drain it regularly, the water builds up and spills into the fuel section, and that's when trouble starts. Water doesn't burn, so when it reaches the injection system, the extreme pressure, up to 30,000 psi, can cause tiny metal parts, like injector tips, to pit, crack, or seize in the combustion chamber. Just one incident can mean replacing the entire injector set, costing at least $1,000. Worse, if water rusts the high-pressure pump, you'll notice black smoke, uneven engine performance, poor fuel economy, or even the engine shutting off mid-drive. The solution is incredibly simple. Every 5,000, 7,000 miles, drain the fuel filter, or do it immediately if the water and fuel warning light comes on. Just place a small cup under the drain valve, open it gently, and let the water flow out until you see clear fuel. If your vehicle doesn't have a drain valve, have a mechanic check it during routine maintenance. It takes less than 2 minutes. Professional drivers treat this as a must-do habit, especially when refueling in remote areas or during wet weather. This small action can save you from repair bills for pumps and injectors costing thousands. Draining the fuel filter regularly isn't just maintenance. It's a way to protect your diesel engine's long-term health. Sometimes what keeps your vehicle running strong isn't an expensive fix, but a simple, well-executed habit. 5. Starting the engine properly in cold weather. On cold mornings, many people rush to their vehicle, hurriedly turn the key to start the engine, and are eager to get going. But instead of a smooth start, the vehicle jerks, spews thick white smoke, and sometimes even stalls. Sound familiar? If you've experienced this, you've likely skipped a critical step when starting a diesel vehicle in cold weather. Diesel engines are completely different from gasoline engines. They don't use spark plugs to ignite fuel. Instead, they rely on extremely high compression. In cold weather, the fuel thickens, the air in the combustion chamber is cold, and the combustion process becomes much harder. This is where the glow plug system, also called the preheater, comes to the rescue. Its job is to warm up the combustion chamber before you start the engine, making it easier for the diesel to ignite. But many drivers don't wait for the glow plug light to turn off. They turn the key as soon as they switch on the ignition. The result? The engine struggles to start, vibrates heavily, emits clouds of white smoke, and over time, internal components wear out much faster than you'd expect. In fact, starting the engine too early causes unburned fuel to flow into the crankcase, diluting the engine oil and reducing its lubricating ability. If this happens repeatedly, the cylinders, bearings, and even the fuel injection system will suffer. Over time, the battery and starter motor have to work harder, significantly reducing their lifespan. A new starter can cost a few $100s, not including labor, while waiting a few seconds for the glow plug light to go off costs nothing. The correct method is simple. When you turn on the ignition, you'll see a spring or coil-shaped icon light up. Don't rush to start the engine. Wait until this light turns off completely. That's when the combustion chamber is warm enough for a safe start. If you're in an area where the temperature drops below 0°C, repeat this process once more. Professional drivers call this a double cycle. Turn on, wait, turn off, then turn on again. This ensures the combustion chamber reaches the ideal temperature, the fuel burns evenly, the engine starts smoothly, and white smoke is minimized. Here's another small tip. Don't press the accelerator right after the engine starts. Let the engine idle for 30 to 60 seconds to allow the oil to circulate through all components, especially the turbo area. Once the engine is warm and the sound stabilizes, then you can start driving. This small act of patience prevents a host of issues, from oil consumption and vibrations to damaged turbo bearings. If your vehicle is older, check the glow plugs every winter. Weak or burnt-out glow plugs make starting harder, waste fuel, and produce more smoke. A new set of glow plugs costs only about $80 to $150, far cheaper than repairing fuel injectors or replacing a battery damaged by excessive starting strain. And if you live in extremely cold regions, choose a lower viscosity engine oil to help the engine turn over more easily during startup. A diesel engine started properly can serve you for over 300,000 miles while staying strong, whereas those abused every cold morning often deteriorate after just a few winters. So, the next time it's cold, don't rush. Wait a few extra seconds and let your vehicle wake up the right way. Trust me, those few seconds are worth thousands of dollars in the long run. 4. Changing oil at the optimal interval. Many diesel drivers believe that simply following the owner's manual is enough, but in reality, that's causing thousands of engines to die prematurely. In the maintenance manual, manufacturers often state you can change the oil every 10,000 or even 15,000 miles. It sounds convenient, saving time and money, but for those who've repaired hundreds of diesel engines, we know. If you wait that long, you're shortening your vehicle's lifespan every day without realizing it. Diesel engines work much harder than gasoline engines. Higher temperatures, greater compression pressures, and more soot buildup. All of this degrades oil faster than you think. No matter how expensive your synthetic oil is, it can't maintain its quality beyond 7,500 miles. When oil ages, its viscosity drops, its lubricating ability weakens, and soot starts coating everything, from valves and pistons to fuel injectors. This leads to louder engine noise, sluggish acceleration, higher fuel consumption, and, in the long run, risks like turbo failure, cylinder wear, or bearing damage. Veteran drivers have a survival secret. Change the oil every 5,000 to 7,500 miles. They never wait for the oil change light to come on. Each early oil change flushes the lubrication system, keeps the turbo cooler, maintains a clean engine, and extends the engine's life by tens of thousands of miles. I once met a customer with a Ford F-250 who religiously changed the oil every 6,000 miles for 8 years. His truck now has over 300,000 miles, and the engine still runs like new. Meanwhile, another driver with the same model changed the oil every 12,000 miles and had to overhaul the engine before reaching 100,000 miles. Engine oil doesn't just lubricate, it also cools and cleans the engine's internals. When it loses these abilities, temperatures rise, friction increases, and metal components start wearing each other down. Old oil stops being a protector and becomes a burden. By the time you notice the problem, it's often too late. If you frequently haul heavy loads, drive on hilly roads, or operate in dusty environments, stick to the lower end, 5,000 miles. If you drive long distances with light loads, you can stretch it to 7,500 miles, but never more. Good oil is worth the cost, but changing it at the right time is what matters most. A high-quality diesel engine oil change costs about $80 to $100, but an engine overhaul can exceed $5,000, a difference that makes you want to change early every time. Think of timely oil changes as cheap insurance for your vehicle. Don't wait until the engine knocks, emits black smoke, or the turbo starts whining to regret it. Stick to a $5,000 to 7,500 mile oil change routine, and you'll notice a clear difference: a smoother, stronger engine and no more frequent trips to the repair shop. If you're nodding along in agreement, hit that like button now. 3. Drive long distances to burn off soot. If you only drive your diesel vehicle around town, going a few miles to work each day before shutting it off, I've got bad news. You're slowly killing your own vehicle. Diesel engines weren't built for short, stop-and-go trips. They're designed for long hauls, heavy loads, high temperatures, and steady speeds. The problem with short trips is that the engine never reaches the ideal temperature to burn fuel completely. As a result, soot, excess oil, and grime start building up inside, quietly clogging the intake, fouling the injectors, and even blocking the DPF filter. That's why veteran drivers always talk about the Italian tune-up, or what's essentially a long drive to clean out the engine. The method is super simple. Once a week, take your vehicle on the highway, maintain a steady speed, and keep the RPMs high for about 15 to 20 minutes. This raises the combustion chamber's temperature enough to burn off the carbon buildup in the exhaust system and turbo. After the drive, you'll notice the engine runs smoother, pulls stronger, and produces much less smoke. I've repaired plenty of vehicles for customers who thought diesel trucks are fuel efficient, so driving slowly makes them last longer. But the truth is the opposite. An engine that's constantly choked at low RPMs generates more carbon buildup than any other driving style. The exhaust turns pitch black, the turbo's vanes get stuck, the EGR valve clogs with soot, and the DPF can't regenerate as designed. When that happens, the warning light comes on. The vehicle feels sluggish, and repair bills can easily climb into the thousands. The beauty of a long highway drive is that it doesn't require any tools or special skills. Just once a week, give your vehicle a real trip. No stoplights, no traffic jams, letting the engine run the way it was meant to. You could call it exercise for your truck. Doing this naturally cleans the exhaust system, keeps the turbo spinning freely, and maintains peak engine performance. If you frequently drive short distances, increase the frequency of highway runs. It's the only way to let your engine detox. Many people assume diesel engines are inherently durable and don't need extra care, but they don't realize that every time the engine doesn't reach optimal temperature, a thin layer of soot builds up. Over a few months, the vehicle starts to feel sluggish. Black smoke increases, and drivers blame the fuel or oil. The reality is simple. Diesel engines love to work, not to be babied. Let them breathe and run as they were designed, powerful, hot, and long enough to clean themselves. Just 20 minutes on the highway each week can save you thousands in repair costs for the turbo, injectors, and DPF down the road. Down the E. 2. Let the engine cool down properly after heavy driving. Many drivers, after hauling heavy loads, climbing hills, or cruising at high speeds on the highway, pull into their driveway and immediately shut off the engine. It seems normal, but it's the fastest way to send your turbocharger to an early grave. For diesel vehicles, especially those with turbos, letting the engine cool down properly isn't just a tip, it's a critical rule. When you drive hard, the engine and turbo operate at extremely high temperatures. The turbo's blades can spin up to 200,000 RPM, and the heat inside is enough to make metal glow red. If you shut off the engine immediately, the oil stops circulating while the turbo is still spinning and scorching hot. The remaining oil in the turbo cooks in the bearings, forming a hard, gunky layer called oil coking. Over time, this buildup blocks oil flow, causing the turbo bearings to run dry, wear out, and fail. The result? White smoke, strange whistling noises, and a repair bill that can reach thousands of dollars. If you've just driven a long distance, climbed a hill, or towed a load, make it a habit to stop the vehicle, shift to neutral or park, engage the parking brake, and let the engine idle for at least 1 minute. If you've been driving extra hard, like climbing steep grades or towing a heavy trailer, wait longer, about 2 to 3 minutes. Some newer vehicles come with a turbo timer that keeps the engine running until the turbo cools down, but don't rely on it. The surest way is to take control yourself and wait. A small trick that seasoned drivers use: in the last 1 to 2 minutes of your trip, ease off the throttle and drive gently to let the turbo cool down before you stop. This way, when you park, the turbo is already partially cooled and you won't need to idle as long. Remember, a turbo doesn't fail in a single day. It dies slowly due to rushed habits. You might drive thousands of miles without issues, but just one time shutting off the engine while the turbo is red hot can cause damage. Waiting 60 seconds doesn't cost much, but it can extend your turbo's life to 300,000 miles. 1. Never let the fuel run too low. Many people have a habit of driving until the low fuel warning light comes on before refueling. With gasoline vehicles, this is already a bad idea, but with diesel vehicles, it's far more dangerous. If you frequently let your fuel tank get close to empty, you're silently damaging the entire fuel injection system without even realizing it. Diesel fuel isn't just fuel, it also cools and lubricates the high-pressure fuel pump and injectors. When the fuel level gets too low, the pump starts sucking in air, and that's when trouble begins. Air in the fuel system causes unstable pressure, leading to engine vibrations, hesitation when accelerating, and, in some cases, the engine shutting off in the middle of the road. Even worse, air in the system means the pump isn't being cooled, causing friction and excessive heat that can burn out bearings or seize the shaft. A damaged high-pressure fuel pump can cost you over $2,000, and replacing injectors isn't much cheaper. On top of that, the bottom of the fuel tank always has a layer of fine sediment that builds up over time: dust, rust, or contaminants from the fuel. When you run the tank nearly empty, the pump sucks up this debris, clogging the fuel filter faster and even scratching the injectors. A clogged filter can make the engine hard to start, increase fuel consumption, or noticeably weaken performance. Meanwhile, simply keeping the tank above a quarter full eliminates nearly all these risks. The advice from long-haul drivers is clear: never let the fuel level drop below 1/8 of the tank. When the gauge nears the red zone, it's time to refuel immediately. If you're driving in remote areas or cold weather, keep even more fuel in the tank, as diesel thickens quickly in low temperatures and pump pressure drops significantly. Here's a small tip. If your vehicle will be sitting unused for a long time, fill the tank before storing it. A full tank reduces condensation inside, which can cause rust and water contamination in the fuel, one of the main reasons injectors fail early. By making a few simple changes, changing oil at the right intervals, driving long distances to burn off soot, letting the engine cool after heavy driving, starting properly in cold weather, and never letting the fuel run too low, you'll see your diesel vehicle last longer than ever. These small habits make a huge difference: a smoother engine, better fuel economy, and no more worries about costly repairs. Treat your vehicle right, and it will serve you for hundreds of thousands of miles. Have you ever run into a situation like this? Share your story.